Hey gang, wait until you see Vivek Ramaswamy make mincemeat of CNN's utterly clueless and pathetic Caitlin Collins. It's a masterclass for how to handle a woke legacy media that's gone completely corrupt.
A report in The Atlantic that you gave an interview to, you said, quote, "I think it is legitimate to say how many federal agents were on the planes that hit the Twin Towers. Maybe the answer is zero. It probably is zero for all I know, right? I have no reason to think it was anything other than zero. But if we're doing a comprehensive assessment of what happened on 9/11, we have a 9/11 commission. Absolutely, there should be an answer the public knows the answer to." Explain to me what you meant there.
This is really, it's funny. I mean, The Atlantic is playing the same game as CNN. It's funny. What I said is on January 6th, I do believe that there were many federal agents in the field and we deserve to know who they are. On 9/11, what I've said is that the government lied. And this is incontrovertible evidence, Caitlin. The government lied about Saudi Arabia's involvement. There was a Saudi spy named al-Bayoumi who they lied, and the government lied, and the 9/11 Commission lied. We know that because declassified reports in 2021 revealed that al-Bayoumi was indeed. What's that?
Yeah, the report that President Biden declassified.
Yes.
But your quote here, are you telling me that the quote is wrong
20 years later,
here?
yeah.
But are you telling me that your quote is wrong here because it says how many federal agents were on the planes at the Twin Towers?
Yeah, when I actually, and this is just lifting the curtain on how media works again, I asked that reporter to send the recording because it was on the record. He refused to do it. But we had a free-flowing conversation. The truth is there are lies the government has told about 9/11, but it's not the ones that somebody put in my mouth. It's the one that I articulated, which is that Saudi Arabia, absolutely, their intelligence was involved in 9/11. And that's a difficult thing you're not supposed to say. The facts back that up. Separately, as it relates to January 6th, same story all over again. There were federal agents in the field. I think they've lied about how many there were, and we, the people, deserve the truth, despite the layers of distortion that exist in the media to prevent us from getting it.
You're saying that—
Dang, that was brilliant. So what Caitlin Collins, the new face for the most distrusted name in fake news, what she did there, she conflated two events into one. In other words, Vivek was speaking to The Atlantic about feds on the ground at J6, but The Atlantic article quoted him as referring to 9/11, which doesn't even make any sense in context. What if federal agents on planes hitting the towers have anything to do with anything? Feds on the ground at J6, well, yeah, even the New York Times admits that. But you'll notice Collins didn't even consider that the ultra-woke activists over at The Atlantic misquoted Vivek. Her only proof that Vivek made that totally incoherent claim about 9/11 and feds on the planes was the Atlantic piece. That's it. So much for evidentiary reporting. So what Vivek just did there is he calmly and methodically decoupled the two events, explained how his comments about the feds were specific, obviously, to J6, and that his concerns about 9/11 were wholly other than that, which, of course, now involves the declassified documents that detail Saudi nationals' connections to the 9/11 hijackers, a connection we were told by government officials for 20 years did not exist. Now, you would think that that very logical, cordial decoupling of the two events that the woke activists at The Atlantic deceptively equivocated would be enough for the CNN anchor, that would settle it. But that's only if she were actually interested in truth. But this CNN anchor has a different agenda. Hey gang, if you're a patriot and you're not prepared to defend your home and your family, you need to click on that link below right now before you do anything else and visit our good friends over at Countrywide Concealed and get your concealed carry permit once and for all. Now, if you're like me, you've been putting this off forever, right? You've always wanted to do it. You've always meant to do it, but you've been put off because of all the ridiculous barriers and requirements, the pain, the hassle of getting what is ironically our constitutional right. Well, guess what, gang? There is now an amazing solution to all of that. Countrywide Concealed is probably the single quickest, easiest way for you to get your permit. And the coolest thing is that the permit is good for the vast majority of the country. It's amazing. You won't just get a permit to conceal carry in your own state, but in 84% of the whole of the nation as well. It's as quick and as easy as just watching a video and taking a quiz. And thanks to Countrywide Concealed, your family is that much safer no matter where you go. Getting a concealed carry license has literally never been easier. Click on that link below and join the millions of patriots who've taken back their rights with Countrywide Concealed today.
You were misquoted here. So we will take you at your word.
Yes.
You're saying that you were misquoted here. But you were asked another time recently about whether or not 9/11 was an inside job. This is what your response was.
9/11 inside job or exactly how the government tells us?
I don't believe the government has told us the truth. Again, I'm driven by evidence and data. What I've seen in the last several years is we have to be skeptical of what the government does tell us. I haven't seen evidence to the contrary, but do I believe everything the government told us about it? Absolutely not.
That's
Do I
two
believe
questions.
the 9/11 Commission? Absolutely not.
I mean, Vic, I think people look at those comments. They look at what you said in the Atlantic, which you say you were misquoted. They look at comments that you've made about the Federal Reserve adding zeros to media companies' bank accounts. And I mean, it looks like you're floating conspiracy theories with this defense of I'm just asking questions.
Well, when you actually quote me, those are my words, and I stand by them. So somebody else quoting me, putting words in my mouth, I have a problem with. But those words I stand by. You want to know why? Because we literally know the FBI, the 9/11 Commission, the U.S. government on down told us specifically that Saudi Arabia had no involvement. 20 plus years later, quietly declassifying documents showing that not only did Saudi Arabia have involvement, it was a Saudi intelligence agent that received two of those terrorists that crashed planes on 9/11, killing
But the
Americans
question was, is
on
9/11
American
an
soil.
inside job? And you
government
didn't
lied
say
about it.
no.
Caitlin,
That's what
you
I
just
think people are
Caitlin,
looking at.
Caitlin, you know what's really funny? You literally just played that, and you could play it for your audience again. He said, or do you believe everything the government has told us? And my answer was, I do not believe everything the government has told us,
But you see
because
the
they
point.
lied.
The point is
and
that
I know
it leaves
this game
the door
comes up,
open.
Caitlin,
It's
every
not
time
a
there's
game.
an outsider
it
who
leaves
comes
the door
in.
open, Vivek. It leaves the door open, and someone who's a
Caitlin,
9/11 truther
we
looks
have a
at that and
government that
says, that's
systematically
exactly what I
lies.
believe. You
That
think the
was a-
government's
that was
lying
a
about
comedian
9/11?
I think the government has systematically and for a very long time lied about 9/11. And I think I'm the
What
only
part
presidential
exactly
candidate
are they
who's told us
lying
the
about?
truth. Saudi Arabia's involvement.
Boom. I mean, these two are just on different logical levels here. I mean, it's so fascinating. These legacy media types obviously don't know what to do when they're confronted with someone who is equipped to call out their BS. Again, Vivek's response there was brilliant. He shows once again that this Katie Collins at CNN doesn't know how to do research. First, the only evidence she had of Vivek claiming 9/11 was an inside job was a misquote about feds in the Atlantic, one that Vivek unraveled rather easily. Then she tries to pigeonhole him into a both-and scenario. In other words, she presented Vivek's response to the questioner as if the questioner asked, do you believe 9/11 was an inside job and is the government lying about it? But that's not what Vivek was asked. He did not get asked a both-and question. He got asked an either-or. Was 9/11 an inside job, or was the government completely honest with us? And Vivek answered the or. He answered whether the government has been completely honest with us, which objectively it is not. And just to show you how blindsided she was in this exchange, she actually asked, well, what's the government lying about? And Vivek shut her down. Saudi Arabia's involvement. An involvement which your own darling Joe Biden declassified. And unfortunately for this Caitlin person, it actually even got worse.
True,
but you don't think that 9/11 was an inside job, correct?
Of course not. And I've never said it. But the media filters do create a lot of
It's not
falsehoods,
a media filter.
but
You have to
that's the
stop
truth.
blaming the media. I'm asking you about comments that you have made.
And I'm telling you that the comments I made, the ones you just played, are indeed what I believe, which was not that 9/11 was an inside job, but that Saudi Arabia absolutely was involved, and our government for 20 years lied to the American people about it.
There was an entire
That is
9/11
hard
Commission
fact,
report
actually.
on this.
Yes, and it lied, and it was false. And in fact, you know where that's coming out, Caitlin? There's now a federal case in the Southern District of New York, where the government of Saudi Arabia is being sued by victims of families. That's why this is resurfacing itself. It is relevant, and it turns out
But there's a difference in asking questions about Saudi Arabia's involvement and the government's involvement, and then pushing this idea that what your comment about who was on the plane and then was 9/11 an inside job where you did not say no earlier. That's why it's important to clarify those comments, because otherwise it feels like you're towing the line when it comes to conspiracy theories.
Caitlin, I am guilty as charged that I do not follow the establishment super PAC donor-approved script on these questions, but I am speaking truth, grounded in fact, at every step of the way, and that's what's really elicited something of an anaphylactic reaction of the kind we saw in 2016 against a different candidate. But this time I'm going to be grounded in principles and conviction, not just vengeance and grievance, which is exactly how we will reunite this country.
Well, you say you're grounded in evidence. That's just simply what we were asking for. But Vivek Ramaswamy, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Did you catch just how desperate she was there? It's important that you come in and answer for these comments you supposedly made that we in the legacy media actually fabricated. You have to come in to answer for comments you never made. We made them for you. But you have to answer for them. And then we're going to take what you actually said and interpret it in light of the comments we fabricated. And that, according to CNN, is important. That's important. It's important you respond to our fraud and fabrication. Just utterly and completely pathetic. And what you just saw there at the end with Vivek's smile, well, that's the face of a rhetorical victor. Hey, gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.